In this video, we're going to discuss all of the different integrations and some of the operations that each integration has. Now, if you take a look here on the right of the sidebar, we have, of course, our triggers on the top and the blocks on the bottom. So as you can see, some of these triggers are actually our tool integrations that we have. So if we wanted to trigger a workflow with one of these tool integrations, we can go ahead and do so. So for example, Gmail has a trigger to trigger the workflow every time an email gets sent into your inbox. So every time an email gets sent into the inbox, your workflow will go ahead and trigger. Now, this is the case with a few of our integrations, not all of our integrations, but a handful of them. And so each of these integrations, for example, HubSpot, may have multiple trigger types. So as you can see here, HubSpot has a few different triggers. So every time a contact is created, we can trigger a workflow. Every time a contact's deleted, we can trigger a workflow. Every time a company is created, we can go ahead and trigger it. So the list kind of goes on. So in this video, we wanted to kind of discuss the different operations of a few different integrations and what those may look like. So for example, let's take a look at the Google Docs block. So if we go ahead and drag this block onto the canvas, we can see in the top of the block config all of the different operations within a dropdown. So specifically pertaining to this Google Doc integration, we have the read document, write to document, and create document. So based on the operation that you select, these parameters are actually going to change. So for example, writing to a document requires content as well as your Google credential. If I wanted to create a document, I am required to provide a document title as well as some content. So for example, let's go ahead and create a document. I'll select my account. We can say test document here. We can give it some content. This is a test. And so now if we run the workflow, we can see our URL that's been generated to view the document. So I'll open this and we can see our new document that was created. And so as you can see, every single block operation and execution is represented in this JSON schema. So depending on the operation that you select, the JSON schema is going to vary slightly. So for example, in creating a document, we have this metadata associated with it. But let's say we wanted to use a completely different tool to read some information. So for example, let's go ahead and use the Mistral parse block to read some PDFs. So what I can do here is I can actually upload a PDF document. I'll select upload a new file. Let's go ahead and use the SimStudio overview document. So I'll load that up into Mistral. I'll select my API key with my Mistral key here. And then if I go ahead and run this workflow, we can see the content that's output by that Mistral block has the following JSON schema. So it's slightly different from that Google Docs schema. So in this case, we have a content field, and then we have the associated metadata. So this is kind of going to be the case for every single block. So based on the operation that you select, it's going to return a slightly different schema. And so this is normal and expected with our platform. We try to optimize for creating a JSON schema for every single block execution and representation to make it super easy to index into the specific information that you want from that block. All right, thanks so much.